Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Mindful Mondays podcast. Typically a bi-weekly podcast, but as we state every time when we start a podcast is that we are trying to not be perfect. And we are not perfect. This month, we did it twice this month, but it was not bi-weekly, but it was twice a month. Last week, for those of you who were here, there was a certain question in the Q&A session, which you will be able to have an opportunity after we finish our discussion at the beginning to ask questions. And one of the questions I did not handle well. And I reached out to the individual afterwards and stated that I did not handle it well. I am not perfect. We are not perfect. I am a human being, and I like to welcome fellow human beings also not perfect. And the reason why I talk about it specifically now, for those of you who were not here last week, we'll do a brief review, just to note that you will be able to listen to a recording of last week's session, hopefully next week. And later on, we will send you the link of how to listen to last week's recording. So if you missed it, the discussion of these two podcasts are about decision making. And the reason why I say about being perfect, because that is one of the things that definitely blocks people from making decisions. Granted, there are different types of decisions. I didn't introduce myself. Well, I figured everybody knows who I am. But those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Alan Nemtzov, and I am your host. So the podcast last week, we spoke about decision making. Granted, there are different types of decisions. There are decisions that are a lot more specific, a lot more, when I say specific, a lot more important. Then there are decisions that are much more important, and there are decisions that are less important. Decisions of whether I should eat an apple or an orange. That's not that important. Maybe you feel it is at the moment, but a decision of, should I get married to this person? Should I stay married to this person? Should I discuss something with somebody? Somebody said something, should I approach them? These are decisions that are a little more important. Should I send my children to this school? Should I take my children out of a school? There's a lot of decisions that seem to be a lot more important than just basically what I should wear, what I should eat. Sometimes when you go out to a gathering, a celebration, what should I wear? We look at the weather outside, and a lot of times we also have to make decisions what to wear. So we're making decisions constantly throughout our life. We're obviously talking about over here in last week and this week, we're talking more about the important decisions. What it is that blocks us, which we spoke about last week, and I'm going to review that a little bit. And then today I promised you practical tools that I will be discussing in a very short time of how to make decision making. And I do believe that once you master these skills and master these tools, you will be able to make decisions much better, not just about making decisions much better, but it will also enhance your life immensely. So we already mentioned one of the things that blocks decision making, and that's perfectionism. Trying to be perfect, trying to do things perfectly. And there's fears when we're trying to make a decision that we're trying to be perfect. There's a fear that I'm going to make a mistake. Now, sometimes it's a costly mistake. Granted, sometimes it is. Nonetheless, to not make the decision at all, some people choose it's a costly mistake. I'm not going to make that decision at all, which is also a decision. However, when that can be costly too, you never really know what the cost of not making a decision is until after time. Making a decision, you may find out real soon if that was a good decision or not. And a lot of times it is important to make decisions, obviously, even if you're not sure, because that's the way you determine if it was a good decision or not. Time will tell. And us humans, we don't own the future, so we don't know the outcome. So there's a lot of fears, and we talk a lot about this in our programs. We teach this a lot. And there are some deep-seated beliefs that block people from making just basic decisions in life. Some people get extremely nervous about making some very basic, not that important decisions. And then, of course, there's bigger decisions, which is what we are primarily going to be focusing on tonight, is giving you tools and figuring out how to make decisions when things are really important. And it can be very frustrating at times, and you may be stuck with an indecision and feel that you're in a corner and it's not really what you want, you're not sure which way to go, and hopefully we're going to gain some clarity by the end of our little talk here, and you'll get some understanding. So we talked about the fears of failure, of making a mistake. For a lot of people, that's the fear of being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is a natural part of being a human being. A lot of people have spent their entire life protecting themselves from ever becoming vulnerable, and it's a very sad life when a person lives that type of life. And I'm going to quote Viktor Frankl in a few minutes and see what he says about that. There's a fear of success, and fear of success comes from multiple reasons. Some of the fear of success is really about a fear of failure, because if I'm successful, a lot of people believe if I am successful, then I'm going to fall much harder if things don't work out. If I don't even try, no big deal. I compare it to climbing a ladder, that if you go up one step, even if you fall, you're not really going to hurt yourself. But if you go 4 or 5 steps on a ladder, if you climb a ladder that's 20-foot ladder and you climb 10 steps, yes, if you fall, you can really hurt yourself pretty badly. So some people prefer not to make heavy decisions because they're afraid they're going to be successful. And if I'm going to be successful, there's always that chance that at some point I'm going to fail. And therefore, a lot of times we're afraid to take risks. Successful people take big risks, and they understand that they can have big failures too. Nonetheless, they also understand that the only way for them to be successful is for them to take the big risks. And we're going to talk about the things that block people about being successful, that block people from being successful. And we're going to talk a lot about, so I want you to get a pen and paper, because we're going to get right into it, and we're going to talk about what it takes to be able to make that decision. Obviously, when a person is indecisive, there is something of unclarity. They're unclear about certain things. And hopefully, by the end of this talk, you will gain some clarity of what to do, because once you have clarity, it's so much easier. If you're going on a trip somewhere and you put in GPS where you're going, and one of the important things about the GPS is it says, are you going from your location? And something we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. And once you put in your location and where you're going, the GPS can find it pretty quickly of where to go, which way to go, if there's traffic, if it's a smooth ride. See, the important thing is, are we going to have a smooth ride through our indecisiveness to get to our decision? So we spoke a little bit about the things that block us. Again, to repeat, perfectionism, trying to be perfect. Obviously an impossibility, but there is a fear that's attached to that perfectionism that's blocking us from making decisions. That fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of not being happy with the results is another fear. The fear of what will other people think, which comes into the same idea of fear of failure. And I don't know if anybody can relate to that. It's something that I struggled with for a lot of years, of basing my life and my decisions on what other people think. And for people who don't struggle with that, they can't really appreciate the intensity and the level of anxiety that a person lives with, concern about what other people think, trying to put on this persona, trying to put on this, and it's often lost from the word of false, because it's not real. It's not really who we are. And a lot of times we're afraid of who we are going to be, which is very interesting. We spend a lifetime, a lot of us spend a lifetime, worried about what other people are going to think about us. And that is what's directing us to make our decisions. The truth is, statistics show that the amount of people that cry at a wedding, this is statistics. I guess they spend money on it, they funded it, and they went around and did statistics that less than 10 people cry at an individual's wedding. That is the average, less than 10 people. And the number one factor to determine how many people show up at a person's funeral, you'd be amazed to understand, it's not about how popular a person is. The number one factor which will determine how many people show up at a funeral is the weather. If the weather is decent weather, more people will show up. If it's bad weather, less people will show up. So here we are, a lot of us spend a lifetime worried about what other people think about us. And then when we get to that final last day of life and we finish this game called life, apparently all those other people that we're worried about are not really that concerned, or certainly not as concerned as we think that we are. However, a person who really believes this and plagued with this slavery, being enslaved, and worried about what other people think, it's really difficult to make decisions. So how do we get past that is the question. And hopefully I'm going to give you now the way. We talk a lot about this in our program. We heal a lot about this. There are definitely some deep-seated fears that cause a person to believe that, to be concerned about that, what other people think. And there's other factors. If I'm living in a certain community and something we call peer pressure, that there's pressure from peers to be a certain way, that can definitely lead for us to make decisions trying to live a certain way. life. So I'm going to tell you basically, and I want you to know something about this before I get into it, because this really isn't for the faint-hearted. This is very powerful, very deep stuff. It is not for everybody. If you want to learn how to make decisions and you study this and you work it through, life will become amazing for you. If you don't want to do it, it's not complicated, but it really is not easy. The people who succeed, and I'm going to tell you about the 3 things that block people from succeeding. To succeed in life, there's 3 very important things that you must not do. That will block you from succeeding. When I say succeeding in life, that's really up to you what success means. And we're going to get to that in a minute. The first thing I'm going to tell you, and I'm not going to tell you in the exact order or the proper order. I'm going to tell you what most people do and what theories teach is the correct order, but I'm going to switch it afterwards, because the real way to succeed with these 3 things is really to change the order, because the priority of the order is incorrect in my opinion in order for you to be successful. So we spoke about the GPS, that when you put in an address that you want to get somewhere, you write in your GPS where you want to go. And for a lot of people, that is one of the things that causes a lot of confusion. If you're concerned about where you want to go based on what you think other people are going to think about you, if you're deciding to where you want to go because you want to be perfect, because you're afraid of failure, you're afraid of being vulnerable. So making a decision of where you want to go, you're not going to get to where you really want to go, because your decision is so tainted by so many other precipitating factors that to actually make a decision to get to where you want to go, you're not going to be happy once you get there. You're really not, which is very frustrating, because then you think that there's something wrong with you, that you don't know how to make decisions, and that you're never going to be happy. You increase anxiety and you live that life, that unhappy, anxious life. So it's not so simple to decide where you want to go. Again, the concept is easy. The concept is simple, I should say. However, to do it is not so easy, and hopefully we're going to give you a way to make it much easier. The first thing that you have to do, and for a lot of people, this can be challenging. It was for me. I didn't understand it at first, and it took me quite a while for me to do a lot of inner work so I could really be honest and say, where are you at? It's really important for you to write where you are at. How are you going to know where you are at? I want to make a list, like I said last week, that I'm going to give you practical advice, a practical tool set of how to make decisions. Number 1, you have to decide where you are at. In other words, I'm in my living room, sitting on a chair listening to a podcast. No, that's not what I mean. Where you are at in your life, in other words, write down and be honest. And again, this is not to show to anybody, not to discuss with anybody, even for some people, not to discuss with their spouses. It's really for yourself. And I'll tell you why it's for yourself. Because the most important thing about this, and the only way to really be successful in life, is really that you are content with what you are doing in your life. If you are not content with what you're doing and you're waiting, even if it's your spouse, your children, your parents, your siblings, their approval, convincing them of what you want, then again, you're living based on what other people think. So step number 1, write down a list of what you are unhappy about in your life. What struggles do you have that you really don't want? What are you angry at? What are you really angry at? Are you angry at your weight? Are you angry at the career that you chose? Are you angry in the home that you live? Are you angry at the relationship that you're in? Are you angry at how you parent your children? Are you angry at the community that you live in? Write down what it is in your life that you are angry at. You see, the 5 stages of grieving, because this is really a grieving process. The first stage obviously is denial, and this is helping you getting out of denial. And if you do this properly, determining where you are at, you're being honest, you're getting out of denial, the next stage is anger. You got to be angry. You have to be angry in order to determine. Now, if life is perfect and life is wonderful, that's beautiful. God bless you, really. If that's where you are at and you're really happy about that and you have no aspirations to improve your life, no aspirations to get better, that's great. If that's where you want to live, if that's what you want to do. And when we're saying angry, I want you to understand it's not about screaming out with anger. It's not about walking around complaining about how angry you are. It's writing down on on paper. And it can be as subtle as, what are the things that I'm not happy about? But if you're not happy about something, then you're angry, right? You're either angry or you're happy, true? So if you're not happy, you're angry. So it's really important. And it may take you a little while to do this, to really be honest with yourself. And the more that you do inner work and inner healing, which is what we do in our program, you will find that things that you never allowed yourself and never gave yourself permission to admit will come out. They absolutely will. When you put pen to paper, or if you're typing it on a computer. Again, I highly recommend that you don't show anybody, and I'm going to explain to you why. If you show this to somebody, even if you have a great marriage, and you show it to your spouse, may react to what you are saying. They may not give you the level of validation that you are looking for. Doesn't mean that they're doing anything wrong. Doesn't mean that they don't love you. They just may have a different perception about what you are writing down. We spoke a little bit about this when we spoke in our podcast last month when we talked about relationships, that you may both have similar values. One partner in a relationship may feel that a certain value is superior to another value. It doesn't mean that we don't share similar values. It's just that I prioritize this value over another value. And that can cause conflict in a marriage. Absolutely. So the values are similar, but the priority of the values or the superiority and the inferiority of values may be different. So therefore, when you are writing this list down, do not, I repeat, do not show it to anybody. Nobody, not a friend. This is for you and you only. It's really important. If you really want to do the healing of what we're discussing about over here, and you want to get to a place where you can make healthy decisions, this is part of the process that one must go through in order to do it appropriately. The next stage is once you wrote down what you do not like or you're angry at, and I use the word angry because I know that's extreme. It doesn't have to be literal anger. It could just be that I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with my financial situation right now. Oh, that's all. Simple as that. If I'm not happy about my financial situation, what do you want? That's stage number 2. What do you want? And that's what theories talk about as the course in order to do this, in order to sequence what you don't like and what you do, what you don't want and what you do want. And I'm going to help you with the what you want because a lot of people struggle. That seems to be the hardest thing for people, to really write down what they want. They find it really easy a lot of times to write down what they don't want. What are they not happy with? Seems to be much easier for an individual to determine than what they do want. What they do want, a lot of people have a lot of struggles with. It's almost human nature to not know what we want. Why is that human nature? Because we have all these fears, these conditioning, these beliefs that block us from actually determining what we want. Now, just because you write down what you want doesn't mean you're going to get it. It's just important to know what you want. So again, what are you not happy with? Not happy with a financial situation. You can write down, I'm not happy with the furniture in my home. Just not happy with them. They're old, they need to be replaced. What do I want? I want new furniture. Great. It can be as simple as that. But it's really important to write down what you do not want. Now, the 3 things that will block somebody, and we're going to get to the last one, which is the kicker of this whole thing. The 3 things that block an individual from being successful. So here we said, writing down what we don't want. We're writing down what we do want. Seems pretty simple. The 3 things that block a person from being successful in life, in any venture that you go through, can be in a relationship, can be in your spiritual growth, can be in your intellectual growth, emotional growth. There are 3 things that will block you from reaching that. Number 1, complaining. If you are a complainer, 1 second, Alan, you just told me to write down what you are unhappy with. Yes, that's why you don't go around talking about it. When you're writing it down, you're being honest. That's not called complaining. You're writing down what you are unhappy with. I struggle with this. That's honesty. You're being honest. You're not complaining. That's why if you're showing it to our people, hey, I don't like this. I'm upset with this. I don't like what the government is doing. I don't like what the taxes are. I don't like my home. You're complaining. That's very different than just writing down what you are unhappy with in your life. Because you're not going complaining, you're not going to get to what you want. Yeah. Number 2 is blaming. If you are blaming, you're blaming other people. You're blaming your situation. You're blaming yourself, maybe. You're blaming God. Complaining and blaming will stop you from succeeding in anything that you want to do in life. And the 3rd thing is justifying, giving yourself excuses. I really want to go to the gym. It's so expensive. It's so hard to get there. It's so difficult to do this stuff. I'm embarrassed in front of other people. Again, all these excuses. I want to lose weight, but it's really hard. I don't know how I'm going to survive without these foods. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Complaining, blaming, and justifying. Complaining, blaming, and justifying. Those are the three things that block a person from achieving any goal. So when you're writing down what you want and you start writing down excuses, or in your mind you're going to start blaming yourself, or blaming other people, or complaining, you're not going to get to it. So how do we get past to write down what we want? Because once you know what you want, like the GPS, right? Once you write down where your current location is and where you plan on getting to, you get there real easy. So if all I need to do is write down where I'm at and where I want to go, how come I have such a hard time getting there? I know what I don't like and I know what I want. And this is the main point of these 2 weeks, is really culminating to this concept that I'm going to be talking about now, is really the answer to all your indecision. Then I will give you a practical, this is not yet the practical way to make decisions. This is just the requisite in order to get to that. You got to go through this in order to get to where we're going to, how we're going to work ourselves in order to make a decision. But you can't do that if you don't do this work first. So you have to do this work first. You can skip it if you want, it's just not going to work. You're going to be very frustrated. The important thing is to determine why you want it. And this is the hard part. See, a lot of people live their life, like we spoke about a few of the things of worried about what other people think about us, peer pressure. We exist in life, not living this life that we want, but just avoiding the life that we don't want. And I found this paragraph I'm going to read for you from Viktor Frankl. For those of you who have never heard of him, the name of his book is Man's Search for Meaning. He wrote this just after he was exiled from or survived the Holocaust. And this is part of his theories called logotherapy, very similar to the theories that we use in our program. And he talks about the will of life. And I remember when he spoke about, I'm not going to quote that part, I'm going to read a different paragraph for you. He talks about the people that survived in the Holocaust, the ones who lasted the longest in that horrible slave camps that they were in, concentration camps, the ones that had a purpose in order to survive. They had family that they wanted to get to. They had a meaning for their life, and that's why the name of this book is Man's Search for Meaning. That when you have a meaning for your life, when you have a purpose for your life, is very different. And I'm going to quote you what he writes over here. If you have the book, you want to look it up, it's on page 93. Again, I'm going to repeat that. Man's search for meaning is the primary motivation in his life, meaning the man, the person, and not a secondary rationalization of instinctual drive. In other words, if you're living in order just not to be the things that you don't want, so you're living through what's called secondary rationalization, you're not really living the life that you want. Making decisions are going to be really tough when you have that mindset of life. This meaning is unique and specific in that it must and can be fulfilled by him alone. That's why I said you can't show that list to anybody, because it's not going to work. Because if you're looking to get validation, acknowledgement, somebody should convince you, or approve, I should say, not convince, but approve of what you're saying, you're going to have a hard time. It's only can be fulfilled by you alone. Only then does it achieve a significance which will satisfy his own will to meaning. The only way to satisfy your meaning and your purpose in life is when you have decided for yourself. That's why we're not talking about what it is, because it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your specific meaning is for life. If your meaning for life is to be a very good parent and a great grandparent and to raise a family, then that's it. That's fine. And if you want to follow certain values that you have, be it religious values, spiritual values, ethical values, whatever those are, and that is what is important to you, then you're successful. You don't have to convince anybody. There are some authors who contend that meanings and values are nothing but defense mechanisms, reaction formations, and sublimation. But as for myself, Dr. Frankl was saying, I would not be willing to live merely for the sake of my defense mechanisms, nor would I be ready to die merely for the sake of my reaction formations. Man, however, is able to live and even to die for the sake of his ideals and values. Wow, what a powerful paragraph. Very powerful. And I do recommend this book if anybody has not read it yet. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, psychiatrist from Austria who survived the Holocaust, lost his pregnant wife in the Holocaust, and basically when he was saved, he had nothing and he started life again. Remarried, had children, and he went around the world teaching his philosophies, his theories, and was the chief psychiatrist in Vienna, in his hometown. He went back there. He says that when you have a meaning for you, that you determine why you want it, why you want to live that life, you determine for yourself what your meaning is, what your purpose is, not because of fears of what other people are going to think of me, not because of fear of failures or fear of success, that's a sublimation, not because of a coping mechanism, but you decide that you want to live not just to not be something, not just to not do certain things, but you live a life because that's the life that you want, that you chose. Now, you want is so much easier because we flipped it. In other words, instead of just writing what you don't want and then writing what you do want, first you write down what you don't want. You write down the coping mechanisms that you don't want. I lived a large portion of my life through coping mechanisms. I tried. I failed miserably with my overeating addiction. Just not overeating. For so many years I tried to do it. I failed miserably. I was sincerely not happy. I could have never done this type of work. If I was asked, what do you want? It was the scariest question that somebody could have asked me. What do I want? Because I was just living, well, trying to anyway, on what I didn't want. And even that I failed horribly. I don't know how I existed before I got into rehab and recovery. To live life just by what you do not want to is so difficult to make decisions. However, once you determine what you don't want, which is important, but not that that's your main focus, you've got to make that transition to why you want to live a specific life that you want. Once you determine that, then the rest is easy. Now you just have to figure out how to get there, and that's the what you want. We flipped it. Most people say, write down what you don't want, that will bring you to what you do want, and then why you want it. Done. I don't agree. It's very hard to write what you want if you don't first determine why you want it. Once you determine the life that you want, writing down what you want, is it going to get me to where I want to be? If it is, then that's the right decision. If it isn't, then that's not the right decision. Which brings us now, like I promised last week, to the practical way to determine how to make decisions. And again, we're talking about things that have a lot of confusion and cloudiness and indecision, important decisions, but even lesser important decisions, it can help with this. And it's going to be one word, and something that I learned in nursing school was very important to understand this. And it helped in our decisions, right? We had a question on an exam. You come into your shift and you have one person who's in pain, one person who's having difficulty breathing, one person who needs to go to the bathroom, and they gave some other scenario. Which do you treat first? Which do you attend to first? Great question. Obviously, ABCs we learned: airway, breathing, circulation. If somebody has having difficulty breathing, then that's priority. We got to do that first. They're all important, all the other people. But the word that got us to decision making is prioritizing. And it's the same thing. Like we just spoke about a little while ago, that couples can have similar values. But if one value is superior to another value, and therefore that is the priority, then that is the one they're going to want to make. So you have to prioritize your values. When you prioritize your values and you write, okay, the most important thing is and again, I'm just throwing out ideas. It doesn't have to be this. Let's say you decide that the most important thing for you is your religious connection. That's number one. Is this vision going to fit in with my religious beliefs? If not, oh, that's simple. Simple. Let's say your priority is now about your relationship. You're raising a family. You want to have a good marriage. Is this vision going to hurt my marriage, or is it going to help my marriage? Boom. So if you're able to check that off, so let's say number one is your religious belief. Number two is your marriage. Number three is your financial status. Do you see that? So once we did that, now we're saying, okay, should I take this job? Does it check off with my religious beliefs? Yep, boom, check. Does it enhance my marriage? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to make money, I'm going to be able to pay for my family. Two, boom. Is it going to increase my financial status? No, not really. Maybe not. If it is, yes, boom. Three. Once you have the first 3 or 4 things checked off, you will find that decision making is simple. You just have to decide what is the priority. And when you break it down into a certain situation, and then you look at your priorities of your values, of what the life is that you want, not just the life that you do not want. As you see, just living life, like Viktor Frankl said, of living with coping mechanisms, no, that's not the life that he wants. That's not a life of meaning. If that's the life that you want, go ahead. That's your choice. But once you determine why you want the life that you want, what is important for you, and that's the most important thing. If you're at You want to get married and you want to build a family? Am I doing it because I want to be happy? Or I'm doing it to please my parents? Well, what is your first and most important thing that you want? These priorities can only be determined if you know why you want. What is the life that you want to live? And only you can decide it. How do you get to that? By first writing what you're unhappy with in your life. What am I not happy with? What is the life that I want? Then, what do I want? Now I know that. Now I can prioritize my values, what I want to live, and you will find that even in the most mundane, seemingly insignificant decision making, it will go with the breeze. It will go simply. And as I stated, yes, this is not easy work. You got to be honest with yourself. And when you have time and you sit down and just think about this concepts, I guarantee you, I promise you that you will find decision making, you will get such clarity is so important. And just based on what we said last week, let's say you have a spouse, a partner who has different priorities and values, then you can ask that question. What is the most important thing in your life? Is it your marriage? That's the most important thing. Then maybe there's a value that I can be flexible with that value because my value is that my marriage comes first. And again, this is something that only you can determine. And the only way to determine that, the only way to do that is by what? Is by going through this process. What are you unhappy with? What is the life that you want? Why do you want that life? Then you can determine what you want. Once you've done that work, again, I know I'm repeating myself, then you can prioritize. See, what happens is, and I'm going to end with this, and then we're going to get to questions. You're getting first to clarity. Do you see that these things are bringing you clarity? See, when you don't have clarity, you have indecision. You're getting clarity. When you have clarity, there's no emotions. You're not making decisions based on emotion. Because if you're making a decision based on an emotion, it's rarely, not never, it's rarely going to come out good and you're not going to be a happy person. So, number one is clarity. How do I get to clarity? Where are you at? What are you unhappy with? Why do you want a life that you want? Now what do you want? Now I have my priorities. I have clarity. Clarity leads to no emotions in my decisions. And then decision. That's the way to do it. When you do it that way, you will find that decision making comes much easier. I didn't say that it's going to go easy as molasses. It is a process. And there are certain decisions that are unclear because we don't know the future. We don't know the outcome. So I want to thank you. This concludes our podcast on decision making. Marilyn, if you would be so kind to put into the chat where you can receive the recording of last week's, we have it on our hotline, of last month's podcast. You're not going to get this one until we finish the editing. It's going to take a couple. Once we put that one on the hotline, then it will replace the old one. So you want to listen to the old one, or it will be online. So you will see where to hear the last month's podcast. It online, it is up there. And then once we edit this one, it takes about a week or two. Once we get that will go on our YouTube channel and it will be on our hotline, which you can call in. Okay, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for sticking it out. We are opening up to Q&A. Somebody did raise their hand, but they put their hand down. There was an iPad that I saw. I don't know if they still have a question or not. Anyways, I will keep track of the order. Who has a question, would like something to be clarified, something that they would like to answer? If you are uncomfortable unmuting, you can text it. Just to note that typically we answer the people who unmute first. To text your question is 845 400 9466, 845 400 9466. Or if you want to unmute, who would like to go first? If you all understood everything and you don't have any questions, you don't need any clarification, that's great. That's fine. See somebody on the iPad is muted. Do you have a question? Yes, I see you raised your hand. Go ahead. First name Sarah. Hello. I see you raised your hand, but then you didn't unmute, so I can't hear you. I don't know if you want me to mention your last name, but you raised your hand. Do you have a question? Called in online? So once you know what you're angry about, what you do not like about your life,
okay,
those are the things that you're going to stay away from, correct?
Yeah, but sometimes you have to handle it. You can't stay away from it.
Staying away from it. Okay, again, once you determine the life that you want, yes?
Yeah.
And maybe you have to sacrifice in order to get to that, correct?
Yes.
So you're not just doing it you're not living your life for coping mechanisms, that you understand, okay, this is where I want to get to. In order to get there, I have to go through certain things that I am not happy with. But my whole purpose of what I'm doing is not to just not be somewhere. It's in order for me, I do have to sacrifice things in order to get to where I'm going. So once I can determine and get some clarity what I am unhappy with my life and what I'm angry at or what I don't like, I'm not going to make decisions that are going to make that more. And as you say, yes, there are some times that you're going to have to do things that you don't like. True. But if you determine what it is that you do not want in life, what you don't like, your decisions are going to be so much different.
Oh, let's say, for example, if you don't like your weight.
Okay.
So you're going to stay away from eating things that make you overweight because you know you want to lose weight. That's your priority.
That alone is not enough, though. See, just not wanting to be overweight is not sufficient for you to make the right decision.
So what do you need?
You need to know what type of life do you want. In other words, why do you want to lose weight?
I want to feel good. I want to have more energy.
Why do you want to have more energy?
Because then I can do the things that I need to do and I feel better and I don't suffer from headaches and I don't feel drained.
Okay. So you see that your answers are already leading to other things. In other words, you don't just want to not overeat to feel good. You want to be able to accomplish things, right? Didn't you say that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Do you see already how this is going? Okay. So why do you want to accomplish those things?
Because if not...
No, don't start off with, you see how you keep going to the if not?
Right.
Go straight to what it is that you want. Why do you want to accomplish those things?
Because when I feel successful and I accomplish, then I feel good. Makes me in a good mood. I have what to bring forth to my family.
Do you see where you're going now? You see how we changed it from just the if not, you already went to bring to your family. That is, do you see how that's more powerful than just feeling good? That's what we're talking about. See, now you determine, I want to be there for my family. Correct? That's the life that I want to have. I want to have a life with my family. That's very powerful. Okay, now that I know that that's what I want, I can write down the things that I'm not happy with, and I can understand what I do want. I want to lose some weight. I want to eat healthy. I want to make healthy choices. Why? Because I want to live a healthy life. I want to live with my family. Do you see how different that is because you agreed to do this little thing?
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't want to be overweight. I need more energy. That's not enough. Once we can break it down, this is the type of work that we do in our weight loss program. Once we get that to where you want to be, now all of a sudden, overeating doesn't taste so good, does it? Making healthy decisions becomes a lot easier because you have in your mind, my priority is to live with my family. See how powerful it is?
Yeah, I see.
So that's why we do this. So yes, sometimes you have to sacrifice certain things. I agree with you. Nonetheless, when everything that you're doing is in order to reach a certain type of life that you want to live, wow.
You do it much easier. It's not easy to do, but you have the goal in mind. So
yes.
You have more fun doing it, even if you sacrifice.
Absolutely. Because you don't look at it as a sacrifice, do you?
Exactly. You look at it as a necessity.
You look at it as working to goal. Whereas when you come off that, you just want more energy. It's, oh my gosh, I got to go on a diet again. And it's an effort and it's a bother. And you look at all the negative things about it. Like Viktor Frankl thing, you're living from coping mechanisms. That's called living with coping mechanisms.
But now what happens when you forget your goal? Like sometimes a person will want to lose weight, they want to be there for their family, they want to be healthy. And then during the journey, you forget that.
It happens. You're a human being. It's natural. So if you have a bad day, don't worry. You'll be reminded very quickly. Once you gain 2-3 pounds, 1 second, what am I doing? The universe will remind you very quickly. Once you've done this work, you will be reminded very quickly. And if you let yourself go after a while, you know what you do then? You come to our program. That happens. Because the only people that come to a program or come to something like this are people that are unhappy on a certain level. True?
True.
Because they forgot. Yeah. And I know it's tough, but that's the human nature. In order to get going is to be unhappy where you're at. That's why it's so important to start off by writing what you're unhappy with.
Okay, thank you so much. Makes sense.
You're welcome. Great question. Let's see. Somebody, was it a mistake that you said why you want is number 4? I missed the number 3. I said number 4. I don't think that you said that why you want is number 4, maybe you heard. I don't believe I said that. If I did, yes, that was a mistake. I don't believe I said that, but no, that's number 3. It's not number 4. There's where you're at is number 1. What you want is number 2, and why you want is number 3. However, I'm explaining that you really need to do number 3 second. In other words, where you're at and why you want it. And once you know what the life is that you want, then you're going to determine what it is that you want, because you're just figuring out how to get to that goal. I think 9-5 unmuted. I don't know if they're still, I did see them. Did you want to unmute again? And then there's somebody in the chat that I'm going to answer in a minute. I don't see them unmuting again. Okay, maybe they'll come back later. I'm at a crossroad. I'm currently unemployed and would like to learn an energy healing modality. I did process of elimination from all the different options. Not all are kosher based, and a lot of them are very expensive to learn. So as it is, I'm going to have to borrow money to take the course. So I feel it's a jagged edged sword. Need to borrow to learn to hopefully be successful to pay it back. It's not a guarantee. I'm not a risk taker, praying for clarity, but seem stuck and not sure where I'm stuck. Okay, so let's look at this. You're contemplating learning energy healing. Yes? Explain to me why you want to learn energy healing. It talks to me. Okay, great. So you like it. It talks to you. And so what do you want to do with it? You want to learn it just because it talks to you. It's something that you like. Help others. Okay. So you want to help others, and you want to help with the energy modality because it talks to you, correct? Why do you want to help others? I feel it's a calling. So you feel that your calling is to help others. I graduated office work. Okay. Now, helping others. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to help others, and it's something I can do anywhere. Now you're adding a few different things. You can do office work anywhere too. There's offices all over the world. And today, with virtual offices, you can certainly do office work anywhere. I'm not so tech savvy. It doesn't matter. Don't have to be. But you said that you wanted to help others because you feel it's a calling. Now, and I'm not questioning your desire to help others. We could go into that, but I'm not going to go there. So helping others is a variety of things that a person can do in order to help others. I believe, I'm hearing from your question, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm really not questioning that you're helping others. A lot of people want to help others as opposed to because, and I'm not saying this is true for you, it's because they don't really want to help themselves yet. In other words, for them to help other people, to avoid looking at themselves. Now, I've worked in psychiatry for 15 years, and I work in hospitals, and I can tell you that there are many people there who are in the wrong field, who should, and I'm sure that's in any field. I'm not talking against hospitals per se, God forbid. I'm just talking about individuals, and I'm not talking about nurses, I'm not talking about doctors, I'm talking about aides. There was a person where I worked in Bellevue, and she worked in the laundry room. She would come every morning around 6:30, 6:45 in the morning with her laundry cart. In other words, with all the sheets, towels, blankets, all folded, cleaned from the laundry to be brought to the unit in order to put into our storage room for the day. A seemingly pretty mundane task, right? She didn't really interact with patients at all. She didn't interact with staff. I have to tell you, she was such an inspiration, this woman. I've never met a happier individual to date. This woman, I would love when she would walk in, because now I can't imagine how much she was making. I would assume it's somewhere around minimum wage, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. Let's say low-skilled job to take folded and cleaned linen. I don't even know if she actually cleaned this stuff in the laundry room and folded it, or if she just transported it from the laundry room to the different units. I have no idea. I don't know when she started her day. She must have started earlier, like in the middle of the night, almost like a baker. So her hours were not great. Her pay was not great. And yet she was the happiest person. Now, was she helping people? Absolutely. Our unit could not function without clean linen. We needed to give our patients to put on the beds clean linen. We had to keep up a level of hygiene. So we needed the towels, we needed the sheets, we needed the blankets, we needed all these things. So she was helping people. Nobody knew her. The patients, the end user, had no idea who the person was who was doing it. So it was behind the scenes, and yet she was the happiest person in the world. Helping others does not always have to be with this forefront of doing these great things. So there's many ways to help other people. Giving a person a smile is also helping. That's why I'm asking you why it is that you want to help. Just to understand that. And this woman was such an inspiration. Every time I think about her, I haven't thought about her in quite a while. It just blew me away. There was only one other person that I found that was as happy, or on a certain level. It's hard to determine what people's level of happiness, but inspired me. It was a patient I had here in the hospital in the Muncie area, a person with ALS, and he was at a place where he couldn't lift his head on his own cognizance. He didn't have enough strength, so he used to have an orifice. In other words, he had this metal brace, I guess, on his shoulders, and it was wired into his head. It kept his head straight. He didn't have enough muscle power on his head, whatever it was. And he was so happy. He was unbelievable. He wouldn't let me make his bed. He had to make his bed. Like, he would not let me care for him, just the minimal. He wanted to do it himself. And here's a man who's dying from me, and he was so happy. EMS, when they would bring patients in, they would always go to his room just to say hello to him, because everybody who saw him got so inspired. So here's a person who's dying. He's also helping other people, inspiring him. Here I am telling you, I don't think he's alive anymore. I'm going back close to 20 years. So I'd be very surprised if he was an elderly gentleman. I doubt he's alive anymore. Yet he helped. Look how many people he helped from just being who he is. So there's many ways we can help other people just by being what's the word I'm looking for? A model, a role model. Oh, you texted something else. Let me continue. I've asked this question to many practitioners, and they all said, you help yourself through helping others. Realistically, no one has ever truly healed 100%. We're all a work in progress. Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is, from that part of the question, is that you believe that you want to help others so that way you can help yourself, correct? Wait, no, that's not the goal. Okay, so what's the goal? I'm just basing on what you're saying. You're saying that the only way to help yourself is by helping others, to be a good stay for others. I get it, that you want to help other people. That's a beautiful thing. A lot of people, though, misconceive this concept. And again, based on your previous statement, that's what it sounds like to me. If I'm wrong, I'm just telling you what I'm hearing from what you're saying. Is that okay? I should ask you permission if it's okay for me to tell you what I am hearing, what I'm feeling. I didn't really ask you permission, but I assumed because you asked me. Is it okay if I'm honest with you? Sure, you can be. That's not the case. Okay, fine. I believe, based on the way you're asking your question, that's the reason why you're having this indecision about this crossroad that you're at, because that was your question. You're at a crossroad, is because you still haven't, this little piece here, you haven't really gotten clarity on. And that's, see, if you had clarity and you were clear as day without convincing yourself, but based on your previous question, you went off to a different thing. Then you say, no, that's not true. There is a part of you that is not healed, that is really clear. And again, I hope you're not taking this the wrong way. I'm not questioning your desire to help others. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't believe you have a true understanding of why you want to help others. It's still, there's some confusion there. Is it about helping myself? Is it my calling? What is it? And I'm going to help you to understand that, because once you determine that, I promise you that this will not be a question anymore. You will know right away. Once you determine, yes, I hear, thank you. I made the list of what I don't want to do already. Wonderful, that's great. But determine what the life is that you want, but before you do that, why you want it. Because I believe that there is still some confusion there. You're not totally clear of why you want it. It sounds like, based on the way you're asking your question, again, you said I can be honest with you. It sounds like there's still some confusion of why you want to do. You sound really good. You sound very virtuous, and that's what scares me. There's a reason why I do this. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can share with you, and I don't know if that will help. There's a reason why I do this work and help other people. It's not to help other people. It's not. That's not my ultimate goal. Yes, is to help other people. But that is not the reason that I do this work, that I do this coaching, that I create these programs, that I'm doing the Mindful Mondays. No, that's not the real reason. I would be a liar to say if it was, because it's not. The reason is, for me, again, I speak for me, and I've mentioned this, any of you who follow me for a while, I've done it when we did the cravings and other things. All the struggles that I went through with my addictions, with my childhood trauma, and everything that I went through, when I help somebody else heal, it confirms for me that what I went through was not in vain. It empowers me and gives me a sense of purpose and a connection to God that I can never imagine otherwise. And yes, I believe it's my calling, but the reason why is ultimately because it confirms for me that all that suffering that I went through was not in vain. That's why I do what I do. I'm on a mission to help 100 million people, and that's why I do it. It's not to help other people. That's not my real reason. Oh yeah, I said it when I first went into nursing and I gave all these reasons, so that's why. So I hear that you're coming up with things and trying to convince yourself, and yeah, it's lucrative and it has all those benefits, but I believe once you determine why it is that you want it, it'll be much easier for you to decide if you should do it and to borrow money to make the sacrifice and do it. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Can I please repeat the last statement I said? I keep getting cut off. I'm not sure which last statement you mean about why I do what I do, why I do this. Is that what you're asking, or something else? I don't know what you asking. Yes. The reason I do what I do, again, and I'm being totally honest, it's not really about helping other people. It is about helping other people, and that's a side benefit that I get. And I would love to sound real virtuous and wonderful, but that's not true. The reason I do what I do is to confirm for me every time we have, like we're having now Q&A, we have several of them a week in our program. And every time somebody tells me about something that changed in your life, it does something for me because it confirms for me that the first 40 to 50 years of my life that I suffered, 40 years and then 10 years of recovery, that was just not easy. Confirms for me that it was not in vain, that it was meaningful, that it was purposeful, that it is my calling, and that's why I do it. When I start to get sideswiped and think that, oh, I'm helping other people, I stop myself and say, oh, let's be honest. That's not really your real reason. And did it take me a long time to determine that? Oof. Yeah, about 18 years of work, of recovery. It's really important to do this work to understand why it is you want the life that you want. And once you do that, you will find decision making goes much easier. Thank you. You're welcome. Anybody else would like to unmute? Just to note that, like I said in the chat, you can, for those of you who do not have internet, you can call the hotline to hear last month's recording at 845 241-8855. If you are not able to write it down, you forget, you can always text the office with the number that you put in the word Michael. And then it's option number 19. This is free for anyone, like even for people who did not sign up. It's totally free. And that will be up until we complete the editing of these last two sessions. So once we complete the editing of these last two sessions, we will replace it with the new one. 9-5, you're here. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, not so clear. I understood that first you write down you don't want, and then why you, yes, what's the...
Why you want to live the life that you want to live. What is the life that you want to live?
And the second one is going to be the why.
The second one is what you want. But I'm telling you that a lot of people have difficulty. In other words, don't write what you want just based on what you don't want.
First I have to write what I don't want, and then what I want.
And then why you want, what is the type of life that you want to live? Why do you want to live that life?
So the second one's going to be writing down what's the type of life I want.
Correct. Why do you want that? Why do you want that type of life? Yes, correct.
But first I have to decide what type of life I want.
Exactly. Then you'll be able to write down what it is that you want, because then you'll understand that what I want is in order to get to that type of life. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's clear. So the second thing is what type of life I want, and then why.
Why you want the life that you want to live. You want to be a mother? Beautiful. Why do you want to be a mother? I'm just giving you an example.
Okay.
Now you can write down all the things that you want. I want to have a bigger home. Why do you want to have a bigger home? I want to have more space for my children because I want to be a mother. Do you understand do you see how it goes?
Yeah, but I think there's like a fourth part to it, because I first have to decide what type of life I want.
Absolutely, you do. That's the third thing. Why you want that type of life that you want. Yes. You can't determine what you want if you don't know why you want that life. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. So how do I decide what type of life I want?
The first point is to write down what you don't want. So that kind of makes a bunch of stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
That's why you do that first. Okay, this is the stuff that I don't want. Good, we got rid of that. Okay, now we can focus, what type of life do I want? Now, that may change with time.
I want to be happy.
Okay, beautiful. Why do you want to be happy? What does that mean to be happy?
that I have.
Okay, that's different. You want to have purpose. Beautiful. Okay, why do you want to have purpose?
Because I want to feel fulfilled.
Beautiful. Okay, so you want to have a fulfilling life, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now you can write down what do you want. Is this thing that I want going to help me live with purpose?
And so how do I know what I want? I don't know.
Again, when you say, oh, I'm not happy with this, I want something. I want to have, I don't know, whatever it is that I want to have. Why do I want to have new clothes? I want to be financially secure. Why?
I guess what I want is going to be opposite. And what I don't
Oh,
want.
you want to do better than that. That's what I'm saying.
No, meaning to say, if I wrote that I'm not happy with my financial, then I want to be happy. It's going to be the opposite.
If you say, I want to have a purposeful life and I need money in order to sustain my family so I can have a purposeful life, then that's a different thing than I just want to be financially secure. You see the difference? In other words, the whole reason you want money is in order to raise your family because that is your purpose. You want to have a purposeful life of raising a family.
So I ask myself why I want to have the money.
No, ask yourself why you want to have a why. You already, if you determine that you want to have a purposeful life, you don't have to worry about what you want because you know that's going to be part of the life that you want to live. I want to have a purposeful life. Okay, the money that I want, is that in order to help me have a purposeful life? Yeah, absolutely it is. Beautiful. You understand the difference?
Yeah, so that's also what I want to know. So then, what do you say about the priorities?
Once you figure that out, so your priority, what's the most important thing in order for you to live your purposeful life?
So I should make priority?
You already realize that you want to have a purposeful life, yes?
Yeah.
So now when you have to make a decision, the most important thing is that you want to have a purposeful life, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So how do I prioritize? Like,
that goes based on incident by incident, situation by situation. You come up, I want this. What's my priority? Oh, my priority is to live a purposeful life. Does that fit with my priority?
yeah, but you were saying before, first is make priorities, first my family, then my...
No, that's you. I was just giving examples. I wasn't saying anything specific.
You can have a few priorities.
Beautiful. Okay, so then you write them down.
I had this question last week that there's a certain job that I am considering if I should or shouldn't do. And I was thinking to do it because maybe that's going to make me feel, in my words, it's making me feel good, but maybe I have to put it into the purpose. Should I look if it's going to work with my
There you go. Already you're thinking a little bit different. What I told you last week, wait till next week. You're going to be thinking a little different. So now you think about the life that you want to have a purposeful life. Is this job going to help you? Maybe indirectly it will. I'll make some money, right? I'll be able to buy my children things that they want, and I'm going to be able to be that purposeful mother. Again, I'm just throwing out things. I'm not saying don't follow what I'm saying. I'm just giving you an example. So maybe that is. If that's my priority, to have a purposeful life, is this job going to fit into that priority of a purposeful life? Yes, it will. Then go ahead. I'm going to take this job. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there's still, I don't know, I'm confused because that really makes me feel good.
Is good purpose. Those things you have to determine.
I'm going to be able to, like, someone has a talent. When I give out my talent, that can make me feel good or purposeful. I don't know. I just what's other person's talent. If you have a talent.
You have certain talents that you want to use.
Yeah.
Okay, so that can be priority number 2. Number 1 is to live a purposeful life. Number 2 is to utilize your talents because it makes you feel good. What's wrong with that? That's fine.
So what's the deeper thing? Just utilize the talent as something.
There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be deeper. That's fine. If that's is that the most important thing in your life? Is your purpose the most important? You understand what I'm saying? You're the only one who can determine that. Nobody can determine that for you.
So you're saying utilizing the talents is a reason?
Why not? Why not? It makes you feel good. Right? You were given talents, right? God-given talents. You want to utilize them. It makes you feel good.
It also goes down to the purposeful life.
Absolutely. Why not? Sure, it can.
I think.
All right. You got your work. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
1-6. You are up. Yes.
Hi. I have a question about decisions. I just didn't get a chance to come on before. I only came onto the Q&A, so still gonna listen to the decisions. I might be asking something that you said already.
Okay. I can't promise that I can answer. Go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, I have a few decisions that I made that it's like long-term decisions, and I feel stuck with how it goes, how it's panning out until I reach my goal, like in the interim.
Okay, yes.
So I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I worked in a place where the boss was very involved in the business, and every day at 2:30, she would just get up and quickly threw out a bunch of commands to everybody. Okay, you do this, and you do this. And then she just said, what could I do? Got her onto my son's bus. And it didn't, to me, it just like, I felt like I do not want to be in this state. So I made the decision that now, as I'm working and I don't yet have a family, that I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm like the founder of something where I feel stuck between a rock and a hard place every day at 2:30. And meanwhile, I'm a creative person, and I'm outgoing, and I work a lot of hours out of the house, and I'm not sure where to take my long-term decision, because currently I could, if I want to, open something and be the owner and put in the hours, because I have the hours, and I do feel bored very often if I work, because I just work part-time. Like I pretty much work like, I would say, average amount of hours. I just have a lot more time to give.
So what's your question? What's your indecision? I'm not understanding.
My indecision is I want to have the ability to be with my family when that time comes, and therefore I'm holding myself back from opening something or like founding some kind, like becoming like very involved in something out of the house. And like what, I'm not sure like what could I do with the fact that I want that, and I'm not sure.
So you don't have your own family?
I'm very clear that very clear that I don't want to be a mother that her family is the last thing on the back burner. Currently though, I don't have a family, and I have the amount of hours, and I want to do something, because when I feel bored, I just feel like useless.
You're single?
Like a pity. I'm married.
Oh, you are married. Okay, you just don't have children yet. Okay, I get it. Okay. So what is your purpose? What do you want to be? What type of life?
I love children. I want it to be very family oriented.
Okay, so therefore, that's your number one priority. So to do this thing, does that align with that priority, or does it go against it?
To become more involved in something with remembering this is aligned. Going all out is not aligned.
Whatever, I'm just saying. Whatever it is that your decision is, so if it's aligned, so it's aligned. So good. So now it's simple. Do you see?
I'm already working though for 9 years, and I tried a couple of different areas, and if I'd like to, I have the option of changing something for next year. And I keep thinking like, what if I just do it now, because now I have the time, and later on I'll make another decision. But I don't know if that's a good way of thinking, if that's like something that works.
Again, you've already decided what you want in life and why you want it, correct? Yes?
I guess I'm a little unsure about that.
That's something else. There you go. Once you clear
I want to have a family. No one's telling me that I'm having one. So till then, I'm not sure. Because recently I started to think, like a lot of my decisions, I think, okay, and if it doesn't work out the exact way I want it, I still want to do this. Like, I want to do this, and whether the results pan out exactly like I want it or not, this is what I want. And then here it's
you decided what you want in life and why you want to be that person, then everything that you're going to work towards is going to be towards that goal. And anything that comes in conflict with that, you're not going to choose. It's really that simple. You've already determined what the type of life is that you want. If you want to have a family, that's what you're going to do, and you're going to do everything that you can to get you towards that goal, correct? It's unclear. You're still unclear what I hear you. I don't know if that is on your end.
Yeah, fine.
You're still unclear about what the type of life that you want. You still haven't convinced you. You're still trying to convince yourself. Once you clarify that, these questions will disappear.
And then I have my question.
You can try, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Just note our schedule for March. We're going to have on March 10th and March 24th. The topic is going to be holiday preparation. I know people are already I hear it in our program, people are already talking about their fears around Passover and things like that. So we're going to talk about holiday prep. We can make decisions in life and change our priorities accordingly. Yes, absolutely. 100%. 100%. Priorities change as we grow. A child's priority is one thing. After you get married, you have a different priority. After you have children, you have different priorities. It's all within, your priorities change. Things in life change. There's nothing wrong with that. There are certain people that really have decided at a very young age the type of life they want to live, and they live that life. That's amazing. That wasn't true for me, and things happen in my life, and I don't know if I ever really thought about that. But there are people that do that, and I'm impressed when I see that. We have our young doctors who work in the hospital, these residents, they're in their 20s, and they already finished med school. They know what they want. And I'm like, wow, wow, that just was not the case for me. Some people think they know what they want and try something and they think that's their purpose, and then after a little while they get a little bit of experience in life and say, oh, that's not what I originally wanted, so I'm going to change that. Absolutely. I think that's one of the beautiful things about life, is we do have the ability to change our priorities as our journey continues. Because life is a journey, it's not an event. So yes, absolutely. Anybody else? I don't see anybody muting or asking questions. If you still have a question, thank you, you're welcome. If you still have a question wasn't answered, you can always reach out to our office, 845-400-9466. You can visit us online. You can call our hotline, 845-241-8855. We have a webinar there. You can listen. There's some other free stuff you're more than welcome to listen to. And please tell your friends and family, this is absolutely free, no cost to you other than your time. And we do cherish that. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. This concludes this month's podcast and this discussion on decision making. Doesn't mean that we're not going to bring it up again in the future, but for now, it's definitely a fundamental concept and it can be used in many aspects of life. So thank you for listening, thank you for showing up, and have a good night.